All right, let's deal with another thing that we need to teach when we're teaching more advancing students who are going to get into various styles. And I think it's important to give them an opportunity when they're in the Baroque classic styles to have an opportunity to improvise. In other words, to embellish the pieces that they're playing on, and perhaps even either improvise or at least compose their own cadenza instead of relying on someone else to create their cadenza for them. I tell in the book a story about when I was performing the Handel Second Oboe Sonata on a recital. And I was practicing daily for this recital, and every time I get to the third movement, I could just barely stand to play it. It was just so boring. I yawned every time I started to practice it, and I thought, how could Handel do this? This is crazy. Why would he write something like this? Let me give you actually what that sounds like. This is the third movement of that second sonata, Adagio, rest. Okay, so maybe it's not as bad as I made it out to be, but it still lacks a little luster compared to the other movements. And about 2 weeks before my recital, Ronald Roseman came from New York City and performed a recital at my school, Brigham Young University, and played the same piece. And when he got to that third movement, it was like a lot more notes than I had. Now, where did he get that? And my teacher explained to me that he was improvising, that he was embellishing, adding ornamentation to it. I didn't do well with that in 2 weeks. It was just, I kind of got caught in the crack. I couldn't bear to play it the old way. I wasn't ready to play it the new way. And so when I walked on the stage, I didn't even still know what I was going to do. And in fact, when I get to the end of the second movement, I chickened out. I just whispered to my accompanist, fourth movement. We just skipped it. I'm sorry to say, but I didn't just leave it. I took it on as a challenge, and I came back to it and worked it up. And I'm going to play you my version. Now, this is how a lot of people will do this. I'm not actually improvising this right now. I wrote this down, but I'm going to play you what I wrote on the same piece. Ready? And one. So much more interesting and much more fun to play. And I've been able to add my creative touch to the piece, which I think is valuable for the students, very motivating. And give you a couple of more examples. By the way, that trill, it's a hard trill. Sounds bad. And often I find people are playing it so that I hear the bad note the most. Or can I play it like this? So I hear the good note the most. It's how I move my finger. So if I have my finger down more than it's up, I hear the upper note, which is the raw sound. I don't want to hear that sound. I only want to hear the main sound, which would be here. And that's kind of the trick. I could have done a little better there, but I often am helping students with that we've got to trill so that we hear the principal note, not the trilled note, especially since it's often in a weak position. We always want a strong fingering in a strong position. Use weak fingerings only in weak positions. That's kind of the principle. And we have to definitely think about that when we're doing all this embellishing. Let me show you another example here that's in the book. I just want you to hear the sounds of these. This is from a C.P. Bach Hamburg Sonata for flute, piece that I performed a number of times. I really like this piece. However, the first movement and the third movement are what you'd kind of expect, although they're in the M fine Sommer style of the very late Baroque period. And there's a lot of things that are in rebellion to the standard Baroque and point in a direction to more of the classical. But what's really revolutionary here is the second movement is not a second movement. It's only like 7 measures, and it's just kind of a transition or an interlude. But he wrote a lot of notes in the first movement and the third movement. And in the second, in this little interlude, he wrote this. So this is what I did with it when I performed it. So it makes it a whole different piece. I'll give you one more example here. This is written in the book. This is interesting to me because this is actually Telemann embellishing his own melody. So this is how he wrote the original melody. I'm just going to do this little part. Here's what he did to it. So very instructive to see what the composer himself did to his own original line. So I think those are the things I wanted you to hear. There's a lot more information in the book. I hope you'll read the chapter. But those are some of the things that I felt like you needed to have an oral example for from the book. So let's wrap that up for now for the chapter on ornamentation. I'll see you in the next one.